All right. Well, I'm with Dave Brock, and thank you for being here,
Thank you.
Senior Master. I want to ask you a little bit of questions, a few questions for UKKA history. And could you tell me about how you met Senior Grandmaster Fred Brewster?
Senior Master Fred Brewster was part of the first Ed Parker Karate Studio in Garden Grove, California, with Bob Perry. They created this school in the Craig Shopping Center, right off of Brookhurst in Westminster. Okay, and that school was a really cool little school. And I first saw it. There was a Chinese restaurant next door to it called Kwan's Chinese Food. My brother was the dishwasher there, and he quit to go wrestle. And they asked me if I would be the dishwasher for my brother, and I said sure. And I'm like 14 years old, 15 years old, and I used to, on my breaks, go ahead and peek my head in there in the karate studio and watch these guys training. And Fred Brewster was the head guy, and a guy named Del Walker. They were the two top guys teaching, along with Bob Perry. The huge group of brown belts were there that were great. Bob White, Bob Mitchell, Brian Strain, Richard Roper, just a lot of great guys. There were a lot of great guys there. And so that impressed me. And so after, being a dishwasher, I didn't go back over to that school. I went over there. I didn't go back there until I was about 17 years old because my two friends were there training and said, you should get in there. And when I came back, the very first black belt test under Ed Parker and Fred Brewster and Mr. Bob Perry was Bob White, Brian Strain, Bob Mitchell, Dave Gonzalez, and so on. Dave Gonzalez actually failed the black belt test. And so they promoted them, and these were Fred's students. And so he made some great students. And then that's when he broke away and opened up his school with Tony Sarto and Pierre Berger. So that's how I know him. That's how I met him. And really liked him. Wonderful guy.
What's your memories of Tony Sartor?
I don't know Tony very well. He was very nice, great guy. He was a good martial artist. I remember he had frizzed out hair, But then I found out he had a heart attack jogging. He was out jogging or something and had a heart attack.
What about Pierre Berger?
Pierre Berger, to me, was the baddest little guy I've ever met. I'm not lying. He could whip his legs around like, and I mean, break your leg with him. He was a tough little guy, man. He could back it up. So I had a lot of respect for him. He liked me as a color belt. That's when I knew him, and he showed me a few like savate kicking moves and stuff, and he was really good at that. Really good. And I had a lot of respect for Pierre.
What is your memories of when the UKK was formed?
Well, I didn't really know very much about UKKA,
Right.
I knew something was going on with Larry and Fred and them. And I remember a few years back, Fred had said, hey, listen, why don't you come join my new organization and so on. But I was just kind of a rebel at the time. You know what I mean? I wanted to be independent. I had really had such bad runs with Bob White and stuff. I'm like, it was a family feud thing going on, and between us, and I just didn't want to jump into another organization.
No,
I'm very impressed with it. I'm very impressed with what you're doing with him and Larry, and I'm here to support you guys. I've always told Fred, I'm here to support you any way you want me to.
What's some of your favorite memories of Fred?
Well, I'm going to go way back when he had the tough time, okay? It's a true story. I used to be a dancer, so I used to go to nightclubs and dance all over the place and stuff like that. So there was a place down in Newport Beach where a lot of actors lived, and Bill Medley and Joey Bishop and people like that. And there was a place down there that had pool tables, So they shot pool, and there was, live band for dancing and music and so on and so on. And I knew Fred used to hang out down there. He also was very known for hanging out at a place called Blackie's or something. I don't know I forget the name of it. Beach House?
Chatterbox?
Huh?
The Chatterbox is one of the places.
No, that was Garden Grove.
Yeah.
No, I knew that too. Chatterbox. I used to meet him over there too. My mom used to go to Chatterbox when it was before Fred. Okay. So anyway, but back to the Newport Beach place. I come walking up because I was going to go dancing and stuff, and the doorman says, Dave Brock, get out, get into the bathroom real quick. Fred's about to kill somebody. And I said, oh my God. So I run back there, and some guy's holding the door so nobody could come in. And I said, it's Dave Brock, let me in. And Fred said, let him in. So I go in, and there's this guy. And Fred's a big guy. This guy's way bigger than Fred. He looked like he was a pro football player. And the guy's in tears. He's crying, I'm sorry. And Fred says, you're so lucky. And then I said, what's going on? Come on, Freddie. He goes, you're lucky this guy just here right now, because this would have been you. And I saw Fred take a hammer fist and go, right on the sink. And sink goes and cracks like that. You're talking a porcelain sink here. I wouldn't attempt that. And he did it with a hammer fist, and it went like that. God is my witness. I'm not lying. And I just went, oh my God. And this guy goes, I'm sorry, Fred, I'm sorry. And then he says, you got 5 seconds to get out of this club. And the guy just goes storming out of the bathroom, running out of the front door. And I mean, this is like a big old pro football player. And I said to Fred goes, I'm so glad you showed up, Dave. He said, I'm telling you, I was going to kill that guy. I said, oh, man. So that's one story. Now I got another story years later that involved me. I was fighting, and I won this lightweight division in Orange County. This other guy won the heavyweight division in Orange County. And most tournaments have 4 divisions for black belt, light, middle, light, heavy, and heavy. There was only 2, lightweight and heavyweight, that was it. So we had to fight for grand champion, and I didn't know what happened, but he had called timeout or something. I turned around, and Fred's standing right there, and he goes, Dave, I just bet this guy down here $50 that you could drop that guy in 5 seconds. I said, okay, you gonna split it with me? He goes, oh yeah, no worries. I turned around, they said, go, and I hit this guy so hard with a body shot, and he drops. I said, wow, I turned around, I saw Fred grabbing the $50 from the guy and walked out of the tournament.
Oh, no.
He didn't give me a penny.
Oh, no.
But anyway,
Wow.
I love that guy, man. He refereed me in the finals when I was a green belt at the California State Championships up in Oakland, California. He was the center referee, and I'm so glad he was there. That match went into 3 overtimes. At the green belt, I fought one of the BKF boys, and I ended up winning. But that's a fond memory for me. And then they threw his tournament, the WKC Western Karate Championships, at the Anaheim Convention Center Arena. It was huge. It was really nice. I started a right there with a fight with a guy named Rabbit Goodman. And I'm the one that got disqualified. It wasn't my fault, but anyway.
So
Fred said he didn't remember that happening, but that's okay.
So the WKC, tell me about your memories of that tournament.
Man, that was a great event. The very first year they had it, I was a brown belt. So that had to have been 1973, because that's when I was a brown belt. And Fred had asked me if I would do my kata to music, because I was actually doing them in nightclubs as a demonstration and stuff. And I said, yeah, sure. So I got up on stage, and I dedicated that form to Fred and everybody, and they liked it. So I won the brown belt title. And then the next year was my first year there as a black belt, fighting there. And our team, I fought for the BKF. There was 4 of us and 1 white guy, and that was me. So we won the black belt teams championship. And then one more year, I think 75 was the last year, it happened, and it's too bad because that tournament was great. It had a really good reputation. People from all over the country came. It wasn't a local tournament. It was people from everywhere. The best, Benny Urquidez and John Natividad and Ray Sula and all kinds of great names were there at that event to compete.
And that was sponsored by the UKKA and Fred.
What's that?
That was Fred's tournament, UKKA tournament.
Yeah.
Western Karate
I
Championship.
think you ought to bring it back, and I'll do anything I can to help it.
How did you meet Larry Morgan?
I met Larry, I think, out in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, somewhere out there at a event that was going on, and Pierre was the one that introduced me to Larry. I think it wasn't Fred. I think wasn't Larry training with Pierre?
Yeah, his whole life. Yeah.
Well, that's how I met Larry, and I always loved Larry. What a spunky little guy. He used to have longer hair. He played in a band or stuff like that.
Do you remember him from the early days when he was a
What?
kid? Do you remember him from the early days when he was a kid?
Not that much as a competitor, but I just remember him.
Okay.
In a little group, but I always thought he was pretty good though. Larry was always pretty good. For a little guy, man, he was spunky.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate it,
No
sir.
worries.